This is brought to you by Safety Link Podcast. I got a guy here. His name is John Burney. Works for Alliance Safety. I met John a few years back when I was working on a project, and we became good friends. And I'm going to let him introduce himself and take it away, John.
Well, as Kenyon said, John Burney, Alliance Safety. Ultimately, Kenyon and I met through work, but became really good friends through a lot of common interests. And so, over that period of time, that friendship's grown. The work side of things has always still continued to be there as well. But you brought me in on this thing. As far as Alliance Safety, is that what you want me to kind of?
No, man. Just tell us about Burney for just for a minute. Kids, wife, what you do on the weekends, a few hobbies. I think we want to know who John Burney is.
Oh man. Okay. Well, first and foremost, I am a Christian man, and I try to let that be the thing that guides me in my life. There's days where that's definitely a struggle, and I'm not as good at that as I'd like to be. But that is kind of the guiding principle in my life. And so from there, I want to be a good man, I want to be a good father, be a good husband. And then ultimately, if I can do those things well, then I can carry that over into a place like Alliance Safety and be a good coworker and teammate, and work with the people that I get an opportunity to work with here each and every day on my team, and then certainly the customer base that I get to deal with, which is really vast and a lot of different kind of people. But the things that motivate me each and every day really do come down to my family. Work is something that's important to all of us. We have to, for the most part, right? We have to be able to earn a living to do the things that we also want to do in life that we're super passionate about. And, I'm thankful to have a job that I really love and find passion in, and opportunities to grow my career, but that also allow me to go be a coach and, like I said, be a father and be involved in a lot of different young people's lives and helping them. Right now, that's kind of happening a lot in the game of baseball, I think, yes. Which has been fun. But sports is a big part of my life, always has been, and so I love that and love getting to see my kids now start to compete and find their own passions in their life. And so supporting them, allowing them to grow, those are the things that really get me excited every day.
I see. I hear the passion in your voice. And you said a couple of things that I would tell you that one probably amplified our relationship, and two, the other one that you said when you talked about being a husband, being a father. I think when we talk about all these things, I'm gonna hit back on what our attraction was. But the biggest thing with this podcast, John, is I really want to have a platform to be able to assist people that I consider safety professionals. And what is that? What's safety? What is a safety professional? In my eyes, safety is everything. It's not something that we come to work to. It's something that you actually wake up to. It's something you go to sleep to. There's things to that. Some people don't wake up, John, and it's maybe because of natural causes or something that somebody wasn't doing that they were told to do years ago, months ago, weeks ago. But our life is so wrapped up in doing so many things and do them at a high level. I think sometimes when we add work into it, like you were talking about, we got to come to work. We want to be at work. We want to be at 100. But then at some things in our life, there's some things going on. Some things ain't as perfect as they could be, or maybe some things are getting, maybe too bad. But in this industry that we work in, or just even in this society, we've made it difficult for people to call out, ask for help, because on a big scale, society-wise, I think, sadly to say that asking for help is a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you that it's a sign of strength. So those are the things that I wanted to get into as we continue talking. But the main thing I want to talk about On top of this is, how we became friends, and it was what you said. Your first thing in your life was the Christian side of things, and you're right, man. It's not an easy thing. You try to live the right way. You try to do it as best as you can, but I actually think that is a strong side. We talk sometimes early in the morning, late at night about the struggles that we have, right?
Yeah.
And man, it's trying to tie all these things in together. Really, it's difficult. So I guess the question I'm gonna ask you, John, going back to what we were talking about, is what are some things that you do during the day or throughout your week or your month that you try to incorporate taking care of yourself? Because I think the you is very important for all those other things to be good, right?
Sure.
And sometimes looking in the mirror isn't pretty. So sometimes we have to reflect, sometimes we have to actually look in the mirror, or sometimes people tell us about ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. We might not like it, but sometimes it's the truth. So how do you, throughout your weekday or years, and how do you keep it together?
Going to church is part of it, finding some balance there through faith, and then I'm a big advocate for working out. I wish I had a little bit better diet, but I do spend a lot of time working out. My wife,
hey man, mine's is a little out of whack. You know what I mean? But
my wife told me not that long ago that she said that she thought I should be in a little bit better shape for as hard as I work out. So that was a little bit of a dig on maybe what I'm consuming as opposed to working out. But I do find that as a great stress relief. Given the things that are going on in my life and with my family and kids, and supporting what they're trying to do. Some of that has to happen at night, which is not the most ideal. I'd love to be the guy that gets up in the morning early and just knocks his workout out then. It's just not the reality of my situation, but I do try to balance some of that and get that exercise in. It's a great outlet for me. From there, I'm very passionate on the coaching side of things. I'm really involved with both of my boys on their team situations, and so I take a lot of fun out of that.
How's that helped your relationship with you and your kids, being able to?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. Did your dad ever coach you, or?
Sorry to say, my dad was there, but he wasn't there for all those types of things. Yeah. But so I couldn't even imagine what that was like.
It's tough, man. It's a lot of fun, and I'm learning how to deal with it better. But I'm a fairly intense guy on the ball field in all sports, and I was blessed to play in college, baseball in college. My wife also played collegiate softball at Colorado State, and so we're both 4-year athletes. And neither one of us was like the great all-star player. We were kind of we've certainly got our opportunities to play, but we had to work very, very hard to stay at that level. We weren't just the physically talented people that could just show up and roll out and get it done. We had to compete for that. And so it's probably what's allowed both of us to have some successes as professionals in our life. And the good and the bad of that is we take that with some of these young people, and you try and find the right mix. But with my kids especially, I probably do a better job handling that with other people's kids than I do my own at times, right?
Right.
These levels of expectation, and so I'm trying to be more consciously aware of not being that much harder on my own kid than I would somebody else's. But to tell you the truth, I mean, it kind of comes with the territory, and I think you listen to, you go listen to any of these professional coaches or collegiate coaches, and they talk about coaching their kids and all of these things. Being a coach's kid is not easy, all the way down to high school. Being a coach's kid is just not easy.
Right.
There's people look at you differently. They have different expectations of what maybe you should be as a person or player or whatever. And so impressing that on my kids is not what I actively want to be doing, but it probably does happen. Overall, it's a very positive experience working with them, but it's something I have to be conscious of as not just their coach, but as their dad, right? That's the long-term.
Right.
This moment in life and coaching is fun and it's awesome and all of that. At some point they're going to grow up, and I don't know if they're going to play in college. I don't know if they're going to play in high school, then college, or anything past that, but I'm going to be their dad forever. And so
Wow.
This
That's
has
powerful.
to be good.
And it has to be right.
Yeah.
You know, it's on my end. You know, when I listening to you, I'm like, man, you know, it's almost like looking through. You almost have to look through the eyes of your kids while you're coaching them, right? Because a lot of the things that we were taught, they're old. You know, those ways are old because of just how things are right now, you know, and we can't continue teaching with some of those old ways, so we have to be innovative. We have to go do research. We got to read. We got to talk to friends and just, you know, put all those things together and come up with the best decision. Not to say that we're always going to make those, man, but I think the effort, like you said, is the main thing, and just making sure that you're doing the best that you can do. Well, you know, listening to you sounds, you know, on my end, man, that's a lot, you know, that us, as we would say, men, take on our shoulders. And, you know, I don't want to get too deep into the man thing, because I think that's a whole nother concept, because so many people view that and see that word man as some different things, right? So that's a whole nother conversation. But just being this husband, just being this, which I consider you a safety professional, you're just on the other end.
Yeah.
You know, and you're the guy who's out selling the product. You're the guy who's out providing, I call the behind the scenes, but you're a big part of this big circle. It's when I look at it, it looks like a whole bunch of chain links, right? Mm-hmm. And without you, we're disconnected as a safety manager, as a company, as craft, you know, without some of those things. So I really want to highlight, I guess I'm just excited to highlight the fact that, like, I'm thankful for you personally, you know, because I mean, I might be a semi-expert in what I do, but you're an expert in what you do. So I need you, you know, when it comes to the best product, or what you've heard, or some policies that I may have missed, and what's coming out. And your job is just as important. And I want you to know that, coming from me on the outside. I've always looked at you, and you take it serious. You're always on time, unlike I was today. But you're always on time, professional. You want to do the best, and you're always checking what you expect, right? You make sure stuff's getting to the client, and all those things. That customer service thing is such a beautiful thing, and that's why I say I consider you a safety professional. One, because you're serving the very first line of our defense, and then two, you're serving us John Burney. And to me, there's nothing more important to that part of you, because, you know, my brother always tells me, and it's so true, is that people don't care what you have to say until they know how much you care. And through how you talk, how you act, and how you intermingle with people, that's one thing that I noticed about you, that is that you care. You know, you might not be the safety manager at the hazard, but you want to make sure that I got everything I need when something does come up. So on my end, man, thank you for that.
I appreciate that. You know, I've been blessed. I was a customer of Alliance Safety for almost 5 years before Earl Hosterman hired me to be one of his sales reps.
No, I didn't know that.
You didn't? You didn't know that? Okay. So I think one of the unique experiences that I have is that I spent out of college the majority of the first 10, 11 years of my professional career. I was actually in management, and about half that time was a customer of Alliance Safety. But I bring up the management piece because I was in facilities management and stadiums and arenas and things like that. So different than what you did, but I certainly had a safety component to my job. But just probably more importantly was I was a manager, right? And so that is probably one of the unique experiences that I bring to Alliance Safety that most of the other people on the team don't. And so we all have individual expertises or life experiences and things that allow us to be successful, whether it be our warehouse and sales team, warehouse team, inside team, Eddie on the creative side of things. Everybody's got these different deals. One that maybe makes me a little bit unique in my approach to things is I was a manager for a long time, and so hitting those deadlines, understanding those P&Ls, having to report on those P&Ls to people ahead of you, speaking towards production, because production matters, right? Safety is important. It's how I earn my living. I tell people that all the time by selling these goods, but you can never downplay the production piece. If those guys can't produce, then we're kind of all not in the mix. So we're there to support them, and obviously, it's one of the things that you kind of touched on just a little bit ago, Kenyon, with the coaching aspect. You're like, there's these old school mentalities and then there's new, and some old school stuff is really good, right? There's a reason it's old school and it's been around, because it works. But then there's these newer school approaches, and can you figure out that blend that makes it all work? And I think that also speaks to the amount of resources that are out there at our fingertips, right? More than they've ever been, right? You can go on YouTube and find almost anything you want, and some of it's BS and some of it's great. You gotta discern that. But one of the things that I really enjoy about what I do in the world of safety and working with people like yourself and some of the great safety professionals that are out there is on the production side, there might be some proprietary secrets. What we do that's special, that allows us to be really productive and earn money. That's awesome. They're gonna keep those things pretty close to the vest. Safety professionals do not operate like that. You guys almost all have this quality that you want to see people go home safe at night. You want to do things the right way. You certainly want your companies to be, safe and productive, so that we all keep jobs. But there's no secrets that really get kept. If somebody comes across something that works really well, or a policy, a procedure, an approach to communicate, that just gets shared. And I hear that from someone like a Kathy Freeman will tell me things that she's helping work on and with other people across the country, yourself. There's a host of them. Anthony Tapia at Luminate. I mean, these are people that I can ask at any point in time, what are you kind of doing on this type of situation, or how are you guys handling that, or how are you getting your message across? And they'll share that information, and they'll share it with the most junior safety professional that just got out of college and just starting, all the way up to a C-level type person, and every craft person in between. And so it's awesome to go experience that with people and not have them try to keep like their pride and joy to themselves, right? Like something that they created, they will gladly share that information.
Wow, you talking about some powerful stuff, man. I mean, it's like we might have to have a part two, John. I mean, there's some things that you've hit on that people don't, maybe people don't always think about, but that's what I want this platform to be, is some of those things that you're talking about is I'm not the expert in everything. I'm not the expert in finances. I don't do that. But I do know I've had some financial issues, so I'm an expert in that realm right there, right? Yeah. But I had to get somebody who knew everything to sort of get me out of that. And I think this platform, whether it's finances, whether it's marriage, whether it's work, whether it's mental health, somebody has the information. But you don't get that information, John, until the you either does some research, goes out and asks for help, or at the same time have enough in you to stand up and just tap somebody on the shoulder and say, hey, I need some time off. So it's these things that keep us from being at the top of our game. It may be minor, but it's still a chink. It's like the rigging, It's like you can only the rigging can only take so many chinks, and then you got to take it out of service. We have the opportunity to heal, fix, and mend our things, but like in rigging, when it's done, it's done. But I guess at the end of the day, as everybody has their breaking point, just like
Yeah.
piece of rigging. So I can't tell you what that is, but if something is bothering you, the best time to get it is when the growth of it is minor. Because if you let the tree get too big, what happens? The roots are so big that now you're down a rabbit hole trying to cut off the life of the tree. It's too late. It's too big.